In Mexico, near a ruined church, two scavengers can be seen searching for something to scavenge. One of the scavengers, Manuel, steps into a hole and discovers an object covered with a flag. He proceeds to uncover it and unveils the spear that pierced Jesus Christ. As he does, he hears a whisper and walks away in fear. His friend tries to call out to him, but Manuel ignores him and is suddenly struck by a car. It is then revealed that he has become possessed, but remains alive. In Los Angeles, a mother discovers that her daughter has been possessed and seeks help from the local priest, Father Hennessy. However, when Father Hennessy is unable to save the girl, he contacts the cynical occult expert John Constantine. John begins the exorcism to rid the young girl of the demon. During the process, he requests a large mirror and instructs his sidekick, Chaz Kramer, to remove his cab. With the assistance of the residents, who are warned to keep their eyes closed no matter what happens, John initiates the exorcism. Unfortunately, one of the residents opens his eyes in shock, causing him to release the mirror. In the struggle, John manages to trap the demon inside the mirror. He urgently asks people to pull the mirror outside the window, but it becomes stuck. In a tense moment, they successfully pull the mirror out of the window. The mirror lands on the bonnet of Chaz's cab with the demon still trapped inside. After finishing the exorcism, John discovers a drawing of the spear and grabs it. Meanwhile, a mysterious figure, the man playing with the coin, is watching John. Sensing that something doesn't feel right, John seeks help from Father Hennessy to further investigate the exorcism. Later that night, Detective Angela Dodson at her apartment has a dream about her twin sister Isabel. In the dream, Isabel is seen running to the rooftop of the hospital, where a mark similar to Manuel's can be seen on her hand. Isabel tears the tag from her hand. Someone calls her name and whisper. She jumps from the edge, passing through a window glass into a swimming pool, and suddenly wakes from the dream. At John's apartment, John had been coughing blood that night. The next morning, John meets with Dr. Leslie Archer, who informs him that his lung cancer is worsening and advises him to prepare and quit smoking. John responds that
no need. I already know exactly where I'm going.
Simultaneously, Angela arrives at the hospital and is stopped by her colleague, Detective Weiss. Despite Weiss's attempts to intervene, she ignores him and proceeds to the pool area, discovering the broken window and the lifeless body of her twin sister, Isabel. Angela questions if her sister fell from the roof, but Weiss states that Isabel jumped. Angela refuses to believe it, prompting Weiss to mention they have security footage supporting their claim. On John's way out in the elevator, John encounters Angela, who asks him to hold the door, but John declines. Meanwhile, Manuel is just across the fence, walking through a cow farm where all the cows drop dead as he passes through them. At John's apartment, he meets with Beeman, who supplies him with tools and weapons for exorcism. When Beeman questions the quantity, John explains that he just expelled a soldier demon from a little girl. Although Beeman insists it's impossible for demons to use humans to enter Earth, John still asks him to check the scrolls for any information. Later, in Chaz's cab, Chaz questions when he can stop being treated like a slave. John denies it, stating that Chaz's is his apprentice. Chaz asks when can do something else other than driving John, but John ignores him and enters the church. Inside, he is stopped by a man asking to take his coat, but John refuses, stating he won't stay long. Angela, who is behind him, is asked the same question and responds similarly, mentioning an urgent meeting with the father. John asserts that he was there first, and Angela remembers him from their earlier encounter at the hospital. They both proceed, with Angela meeting Father Garrett and John meeting the half-breed angel Gabriel. Angela asks Father Garrett for a Catholic funeral for Isabel, but is denied by the bishop due to the suicide. Angela pleads, emphasizing her sister's devout Catholicism, but Father Garrett claims he can't help her. While conversing with Gabriel, John requests an extension to his life in exchange for his work in deporting Hell's forces. Gabriel responds, stating that performing good deeds for selfish reasons will not secure John's entry into heaven. John argues that his ability is a curse forced upon him, leading him to commit a significant sin, attempting to take his own life when he was young. Gabriel counters, asserting that John's ability is a gift and that his shortened life is a consequence of his heavy smoking, a choice that ultimately led him to hell. Elsewhere, Father Hennessy used his ability to search for cases related to the girl exorcism in newspapers. He discovers news articles linked to Isabel's death. Angela, still unconvinced of her sister's suicide, watches security footage and hears Isabel utter the name Constantine. Then she answers a call with no sound, and all the phones in the office ring simultaneously. Meanwhile, John, still in the rain and coughing incessantly, is asked for a lighter. When he reaches for the matchbox, he is attacked by a demon covered in insects. Despite the demon's warning to stay uninvolved, John manages to defeat it. Seeking answer, John heads to a bar owned by Midnight, a crusader for good who strictly adheres to a neutral stance. John shares details about the girl's exorcism and the demon attack, but Midnight insists it's impossible for a demon to break the rules. Despite John's persistence, Midnight refuses to help, citing a commitment to neutrality as long as the balance is maintained. The meeting is interrupted by a man playing with a coin Balthazar, a half-breed demon. Tensions rise between John and Balthazar, and as they start to threaten each other, Midnight intervenes, reminding them of the bar's rules prohibiting fights on the premises. John leaves the bar while coughing blood. In John's apartment, Angela seeks his assistance, presenting her detective ID and leaving John with no choice but to listen to her plea. She shares her doubts about her devout Catholic twin, Isabel, supposedly taking her own life. John interrupts her, describing the horrifying state of Isabel in hell due to her actions. Furious and disappointed, Angela leaves abruptly, only to be pursued by demons. John catches up with Angela and begins to tell her about a deal God made with demons to influence humans indirectly. Angela, skeptical, refuses to believe, prompting John to insist that it's real. Suddenly, the streetlights go out, and they sense something flying above them. Angela questions John, who reveals it's the wings of a demon. Unable to fully trust John and frightened, Angela pulls her gun while John takes a white cloth, asking her to close her eyes. She refuses, and John ignites the cloth, causing the demons in the dark to incinerate from the light. After the encounter, Angela starts coughing, and John explains it's due to the sulfur from the burning cloth. He emphasizes that the demons are after her and challenges her belief in her sister's suicide. Angela remains steadfast in her conviction, and John agrees to investigate further. In Angela's apartment, she prepares the tools for John's ritual, though she remains skeptical. John decides to use Angela and Isabel's cat as a medium, instructing Angela to leave the apartment. Still doubtful, she complies, and as she closes the door, time stops, and John is transported to hell. With a ball of water in his hand, he begins searching for Isabel, while the demon soldiers start to notice him. John finds Isabel and calls out her name. Isabel, responding to his call, starts ripping the tag on her hand. John runs towards her, pursued by the demon soldiers. He manages to grab the tag and breaks the water ball on his body, just as Angela closes the door and calls her. Angela enters to find John covered in smoke. Concerned, she tries to ask him, and John reveals that she and Isabel are twins. He informs her that Isabel committed suicide and hands her the tag. Meanwhile, at the morgue, Constantine's friend Father Hennessy attempts to gather information on Isabel's death. He discovers a symbol on Isabel's wrist, and in shock, he tries to drink from his flask but finds himself unable to. Frantically, he attempts to drink from bottles in a nearby market, but none of them allow him to drink. Balthazar enters the shop, watching Father Hennessy in pain. Unable to bear it, Father Hennessy grabs a pen from the counter, calls John name, poke his own hand, and dies there. At the food stands, John opens up to Angela about his past, detailing his ability to see the unseen and its impact on his life. He shares the experience of entering hell for 2 minutes during a suicide attempt, but being brought back to life. John explains the delicate balance between demons and angels, who can only influence people through whispers. He reveals that he's been hunting demons for disrupting this balance in his pursuit of redemption. Their conversation is interrupted by a call on Angela's phone, prompting them to head to the location where Father Hennessy was killed. Detective Weiss informs them that Father Hennessy died from drowning in alcohol in under a minute. John discovers the mark on Father Hennessy's hand and contacts Beeman to investigate it. John asks Angela to take him to the places where Isabel died. At the hospital, Angela recounts Isabel's past and her similar ability to John's. She explains how the family misunderstood Isabel's condition, believing her to be sick and placing her in the hospital. John reveals the reason for their visit to the hospital and urges Angela to recall the bond between her and Isabel. He emphasizes that Isabel, being her twin, might have left a clue. Angela, feeling guilty and responsible, begins to remember and finds a clue near the window, which concerns a chapter from Hell's Bible. In the car, John and Angela contact Beeman, who possesses the Hell's Bible. Beeman explains that the symbol represents Mammon, the Antichrist and Lucifer's son. The chapter prophesies Mammon usurping his father and conquering Earth, utilizing a powerful psychic Isabel, who attempts to thwart it by taking her own life, and Mammon need the help from the divine. Suddenly, Beeman senses an approaching presence and tells John to have faith because people around him have faith in him before the call abruptly ends. John and Angela rush to Beeman, but it's too late. They discover Beeman's lifeless body covered with flies. Angela reveals to John that she also possesses the same ability as her sister, but has suppressed it out of fear for what it could do to her, given her sister's mistreatment by their family. Despite John's attempt to push Angela away to protect her, She insists on helping because she doesn't want her sister's death to be in vain. John warns Angela that regaining her ability means not only being able to see demons, but also...
I see you.
Determined to help, Angela undergoes a near-death experience induced by John, successfully reawakening her powers. With her newfound abilities, Angela discovers that Balthazar was present when Beeman was killed. With the new clue about Balthazar, John makes his preparations. Angela questions if killing Balthazar would disrupt the balance, and John replies that he doesn't care, as his friend has already paid the price. He gives Angela a protective necklace and instructs her to stay in the car while he confronts Balthazar. Balthazar, looking himself in a mirror, is suddenly startled as the mirror melts with fire, and a blast follows. Unharmed, John throws holy water in Balthazar's face, demanding information about Mammon's plan. Balthazar's face melts, revealing his true demonic form, and he retaliates. In the car, Angela feels left out, decides to leave, and follows John into the confrontation. In the fight, John manages to suppress Balthazar and learns that Mammon plans to use the blood of Christ on the spear tip for divine assistance. Angela arrives at the scene, and Balthazar reveals that John unwittingly helped him by bringing Angela, who is now Mammon's new host. John and Angela quickly leave the building, leaving Balthazar behind. However, someone else arrives and kills Balthazar. At the elevator, Angela feels a strange force and is suddenly pulled through the building. Despite John's attempt to grab her, he fails. John and Chaz seek help from Midnight, who initially refuses but is eventually convinced to assist them. With Midnight's help, John begins a ritual that leads him to Manuel, who possesses the spear. Following Manuel's trail, John knew Angela is at psychiatric hospital. John and Chaz make their preparation to save Angela. Meanwhile, Angela finds herself in a pool at the hospital, attempting to confront Mammon with a gun, but failing. She is overpowered and held down by Mammon, forcing her to be summoned to Hell. In Hell, she meets with Mammon. John battles through hordes of demons with Chaz's help, leading them to Angela, who have been possessed. John tried to exorcism Angela but been overpowered, but with the help from Chaz to calm her down. However, Chaz is suddenly dragged by an unseen force into the ceiling and dying in the process. Using sigils on his arms, John compels the unseen force, revealed to be Gabriel, and he'd been promptly subdued. Gabriel reveals her resentment, God's favoritism towards humanity, and the forgiveness they are readily given. Gabriel believes that by bringing hell to earth, humans can become worthy of God's love through repentance and faith. Gabriel throws John from the room and begins to release Mammon. As Gabriel goes to stab Angela with the spear and release Mammon, John slits his wrists. Time stops and Lucifer arrives, who hates Constantine enough to collect his soul personally. John tells Lucifer about Mammon's and Gabriel plan. Lucifer saves Angela and stops their plan. Gabriel attempts to smite Lucifer, but is relieved of its holy powers. Lucifer sent Mammon back to hell to keep Mammon from conquering Earth before him, and defeated Gabriel, who lost her powers. In return for helping Lucifer, John is owed a favor. John asks to let Isabel go, to enter heaven rather than asking for an extension and be restored to life. Lucifer happily obliges, but as he begins to drag John to hell, heaven appears before him. By sacrificing himself for Isabel when there was clearly nothing in it for him, John has proven himself worthy to enter heaven. Infuriated, Lucifer heals John wounds and cures him of his cancer so that John can prove that he truly belongs in hell. John retrieves the spear, and meet a now human Gabriel attempts to goad John into committing murder, only for John to simply respond to her efforts by punching her and said,
It's called pain. Get used to it.
John then gives the spear to Angela and asks her to hide it where no one can find it, and John have been switched from cigarettes to gum. John visits Chaz's grave and sees Chaz rise into heaven as an angel. That's all for today. We hope you enjoy this video, and don't forget to leave like, comment, and subscribe for more next summary movie.